Welcome all to the carnival tonight. Hopefully I won't give y'all a fright, but if I do, that'll be alright, because this will be your last night. I see you hiding in the crowd, in the dark, oblivious to the evil that surrounds you. When the time comes, my love, my knife will find its mark.
I recently started working for a travelling carnival. Having toyed with the idea of spreading fun while getting to travel the country, I started making moves towards the line of work and eventually met my now boss, Mr. Fellow. Now, he seems a good man, but, well, my first week working here, he pulls me aside, smile stretched across his face, and tells me, "You know, lad, working at the carnival's a lot like working in hell. The bright lights with pockets of deep, dark areas, the horrible mess, and the unending souls passing through." Now I can't help but agree. The mess, the darkness, the crowds, as well as the screams, the crying, the fear of having lost someone, being alone yet surrounded by strangers, and of course, that now you're here, you don't get to leave.
We all make mistakes. Going hunting by myself was the second worst mistake of my life. Forgetting to load my gun was the first.
I stepped inside the mirror and the world back here is incredible. But I can't get back, no matter how many times I tap on the glass. I have been trapped here for 200 years, watching you.
I picked Susie up from school today so that I could take her to play with the other kids. They love playing hopscotch, tag, and Candyland. I wish my wife would let me take a few more kids.
I had a nightmare that a demonic creature was attacking me. I awoke to a scream and I was covered in a warm substance. I thought it was all a dream until I turned on the light, seeing I was covered in blood. My wife's blood.
Weapons of mass destruction in the hands of a sadistic glutton. My, how the tides could turn if I just pressed a button. Wait, did I just press that one all of a sudden?
No matter how much I tried to run from this monster, it always found a way to make it back. Now, it has the keys, and won't be letting me back in. I'm a guest, locked outside of my own mind, with no end in sight, and no way back in.
I begin tucking him into bed, and he tells me, "Daddy, can you check for monsters under my bed?" I look underneath his bed for his amusement, and see him. Another him. Under the bed. Staring back at me. Quivering and whispering, "Daddy, there's somebody on my bed."
Today, I woke up to a loud knocking on my front door to see my irritated neighbor next door. She told me to stop putting my dead rats in the garbage can because the smell is seeping through her house. Strange that she confused my cheating wife and her lover's bodies for rats.
I have received a call from Lakeview Elementary School today. It seems my son has been disrupting the class. My son has been dead for 2 years.
The vapor of his breath as it turns to clouds in the freezer fills me with a sense of calm. It brings me joy to realize that my boyfriend won't escape me again. But just in case he needs a reminder, an icy cold grip and a steely blade will make my intentions quite clear.
You have my heart in your hand. It hurts to breathe. But why do you leave a hole in my chest? You put me to bed, my love. In the ground. Summoned from the recesses of the mind to mold and sculpt into a pleasing form to the human eye, yet terrifying enough to keep them at a fascinating distance. She watches them all pass her as they enter the carnival.
When my wife had passed away, I visited her grave often. Lately, I haven't been able to find the time. Now that I have moved her grave to my living room, I have no excuses not to visit her.
I'll always love you. You'll always be my soulmate, I said to my husband after I murdered him in cold blood. I thought my baby was calling to me over the baby receiver after I placed her in her crib. I went to check on the baby but found she had disappeared. In her crib was a creature that blinked at me with two soulless eyes and kept calling for a mama that wasn't me.
The taste of fresh meat across the palate always satisfies demons such as me. It's such a shame I pray aren't clever enough to see through my ruse before it's too late. Humans always make the best victims, for they never expect man's best friend to be the one who seeks their head.
Jim, I'm sorry the lion attacked her before I could get there to save her. He doesn't need to know that she ended our affair. If I can't have her, no one will.
I'm ringing about the burial casket you have advertised on Craigslist.
Yes, it's in excellent condition. Only used once. It's occupied at the moment. How soon would you be needing it?
I thought that my offering to my grandfather this year would calm his fury, but it did no good. I should have known that it would not be enough. I just wish a bit of his own heart I carved out just for him would have been good enough to apologize for me eating him.
I'd like to lodge a complaint and demand a refund. I'm injured, bleeding, and very upset.
What did you expect when you bought a ticket for something called Bloody Mary's Hall of Mirrors?
Every rabbit has a tail, cute and fluffy, full detail. Every rabbit has a tail, for every Christmas they will look so pale. A tragic tale, ended must, at once with a knife thrust.
Bones that melt like jello always appeal to my better side. When naughty children disobey the babysitter, they see my nastier side. The parents should have told their kids where to hide.
I've tried to get the attention of my family by yelling and screaming at them and not getting results. I finally got it when I started throwing things around the house, causing my family to yell and scream in fear of me. Being a ghost isn't what it's cracked up to be.
As my little boy yelled and screamed for Cindy, I buried my face in my hands. After stuffing the last of the clothes into the trash bag, I took it out to the bin. Now I know how hard it is to be a parent. Good thing it's all over now.
The last man on Earth
He sits in his room to accept the loneliness. Then there's a knock at the door.
"Blindfold yourself and crack open their heads like a coconut," he said. "It will be easy," he said. I just wish I had known it was my own children my boss wanted dead.
I find myself looking bleakly through the mist. I've been chased down by a serial killer for hours, him shouting that I won't be missed. I feel terrified for my life because, deep down, I know he's right. It's my first time at the circus with its beaming lights and stunning music. It's my first time to see a magician at work with saw in hand and tricks up every sleeve. It's my first time to witness this much blood. I have a good life, and I have my wife. I have good food and a nice warm house. Why is the food provider coming at me with an axe?
I am darker than the night, yet fill you with fright. When my eyes glow red, you will sense the dread. I said all I can, for I'm the Hat Man.
She took the kids away from me. She dragged them screaming into the darkened forest. Though I pursue, panicked, after them, their screams still fade into the distance. The tracks are disappearing in the downpour.
I wish I knew how to get these tapes to stop disintegrating, but, like me, we both will disintegrate. I just wish that I had more time to myself before I kick the bucket, for once these tapes finally break, they'll strangle and kill me.
You were in a car crash and were thrown from your vehicle, but you have the strength to seek help for your injuries. You breathe a sigh of relief when you see a man walking towards you. That is how you felt. That's how you see the bloody axe in his hands.
I went to my grandmother's house today. She was cooking mincemeat pies. My grandfather has been missing for 2 days.
I wish she had listened to me. I tried to warn her about him with all my calls and shouting, but nothing could get her off of him. I wish she'd lived long enough to learn how to listen to her cat.
They say it's easier to become the leader of a cult. All you need to do is come up with a doctrine and a figurehead, or something to fixate everyone on long enough to make yourself important enough to the group to be valued as a leader. It's also unfortunate that you're the one whose head is most likely to come off when they demand a sacrifice.
Eviscerated corpses line the halls, intestines dangling as they cook in the heat. Wicked people left to die as they march to their death with their feet forming a beat. In Hell's domain, a psych ward full of people becomes a locker full of unrecognizable.
Billy was afraid that the boogeyman was underneath the bed, and that at some point, the monster would eat him. When he looked underneath his bed, he came face to face with a pair of glowing red eyes. No one ever saw or heard from Billy again, because that night, Billy was right.
I heard a noise coming from downstairs, so I got up to go check. I found a man standing in the kitchen stabbing my wife to death, so I went back to bed. I'm glad I hired him to take on the job.
Believing in something means that you inherently find a way to put energy out into the world. That's why I try to put out some energy that at least there's something exciting happening. If only I had thought ahead to the possibility of creating monsters that wanted to kill me.
I collect all things related to superheroes. I'm missing Batgirl though. But today is my lucky day. It's trick-or-treating, and I see the perfect Batgirl walking to my doorstep to add to my collection.
I believe I cracked the code to immortality. I created a code that people can transfer their consciousness into, and have transferred myself to it. There's just one problem. I'm the only one who has access to the code, and I'm stuck on a flash drive, with no one nearby who can connect me to something that can set me free. It's very nice of my parents to call me every day to check in and see how I'm doing. It must be difficult to find time after the crash. I just wish they would stop screaming, though.
I spent years fighting a war against the demons that had taken over our world. Right as I thought the war was over, they struck me directly at home. When I arrived home to my family, I discovered that my daughter had become one of them.
War has ravaged the world once more. I just wish the enemy we were fighting was one I didn't recognize. My best friend was called home to fight the war, and my country just declared war on his.
I'm in hiding right now, for a very good reason. I had thought everyone else was gone after the bombs dropped, but the record player in this house was turned on by someone. Worse still is the fact that I can hear the music coming closer.